accessible parks, and be able to count on good public transportation. Increasingly, cities and towns across the country are making planning for good health a priority. Planners are working with public and private organizations to create an environment that will improve our health today and guarantee the health of our children tomorrow. Learn more at planning.org. That's planning.org. A message from this station and the American Planning Association.
Did you know you might be part of the 75% of Americans who think they waste less food than they actually do? Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food, costing an average family of four nearly $3,000 annually, and costing our planet even more in wasted resources. But did you also know nearly half of all food waste occurs at the household level, which means there's a lot we can do to reduce all this waste, to help your wallet and the planet. Eating leftovers is great, but things like freezing food that you can't eat right away, donating surplus food within your community, and better understanding food date labels can have an even bigger impact. To learn more, visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.earth/food waste and spread the word that food should never be trash.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
If I was a really, really good sports talk radio host and a good sports media personality, I'd probably have the old Lion King song, Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Have you heard about the Lion King kind of thing that's going on right now?
I'm trying to figure out if that goes on my end.
That's me.
Okay.
Like about the opening of the Circle of Life. I know this is not off topic, but
hold on just a second.
Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
Go ahead.
So buonissimi wa.
Yeah. Did you sing that at second grade reading today?
I did not. I actually read two books. I read Where the Wild Things Are and One Fish, Two Fish, Blue Fish, or Red Fish, Blue Fish, because I said that was my favorite book. The kids made me read that. But a guy who knows the language that was based off of literally translated and said, yeah, it just is, look, there's a lion over there. Oh my God.
Yes. Well, and
that broke my brain as someone who loved The Lion King.
I mean, I would think there should be something more deep to that.
You think about it, like it's like one of the greatest openings to a movie, even animated. You go, I'm not.
It's all dramatic and deep, and it really is just like one simple sentence.
Literally, it's look, there's a lion over there, which is true.
It is the sentence equivalent of.
I know that's obviously common sense. Thank you, Magic Johnson. Tweet right there.
By the way, the founder of that soundbite going to join us. His birthday boy.
Birthday boy.
5:30 today.
Unfortunately, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So that's what. So Lion King was trending because that came out, and like all the kids my age and Brian's age, because Brian is now will be after May 1 year older than me. He's 30. I'm 28. Like our brains broke.
You're really like 14 months apart. But anyway,
yes,
there's roughly a reason for the Lion King reference.
After Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the fast lane.
If I was a good sports talk media personality, just focused on this 24/7, no sales, no nothing else to do, some alternate universe that exists out there.
If anybody wants us to do that, please contact either Trey Lyle, VTRNradio@gmail.com or FastlaneEdlane@gmail.com and invest in the Virginia Talk Radio Network.
Both of those and more on that idea with Brian, Timothy, Dale, Nolan at 5:25 today in the Fast Lane, because Trey has the idea of the year for that. But the thing of it is, what we're talking about when it's the Can You Feel the Love Tonight is, I don't know if you can feel it. Maybe you can see it being in the room last night or yesterday afternoon, really, over at well, I'll be in about an hour and a half for the Liberty Flames date against Louisiana Tech. you could feel and sense the love and connection for players like Colin Porter, Caden Matheny, and Zach Cleveland. And there are a couple of different angles. In the immediate moment, there's the whole long-term afterwards, something that came out today. You got to mention it. I don't know how serious it is, but we'll get to that in a second. But from the Liberty Flames, you could sense it based on the way they connect with each other. It's just different with those three. And Richie McKay had this level of an observation about how there is a different brotherhood, particularly with this class, compared to so many other, we'll call them senior classes, but ending eligibility at their school classes in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie, obviously, I'm incredibly grateful for them. Like these words are, they express feelings, but I think more importantly, those guys know the depth of gratitude that I have, that I got a chance to be in their lives, and will continue to be even after they've left college. Like that's part of who our program is. Like the brotherhood, the connection, the genuine family that I think God has helped bring together here. I think it's real.
I don't dispute that. You could sense that and if you've been around Zach Cleveland, Colin Porter, and Caden Matheny as long as Bryson Gordon, John Manson, and I have, we're the three that are most frequently at Liberty Flames events. And you can put Alan York and Matt Warner and Emily Austin and the Liberty Flames Sports Network, Paul Nazigan, that crowd into this as well. But I'm going to take a different approach. Those are all, they do great work, but they are employed by Liberty. The other three, BG, Manson, and myself, are not, even if Manson has ties to Liberty having graduated there. So it is a different angle. All of them do great work, but just different approaches. But you can all sense that. And we can't all be wrong. Like I'm of the theory in life. Like, for example, I talk loud, shocking to people. When enough people tell me that, I just nod and say you're correct, and I need to continue to work on that challenge of my own. And by the way, if you want some assistance working on your own challenges to be the best version of yourself, our friends at Central Virginia Counseling can help on Wigington Road or Timberlake Road in Lynchburg. Stop by and see them today. Confidential and very professional in what they can do to help you be the best version of yourself. But when you look at this, we can't all be wrong in the assessment of Porter, Cleveland, and Matheny. And it's rare to have the level of longevity. Porter and Cleveland, who have been there all 4 years. Matheny, who's been there for, as LeBron James would like to remind us.
Not one, not two, not three.
Well, technically 3, not 4 years. But they have all developed their own connection. And there are things that are part of how that is the case. One of them is Colin Porter. And he thinks this kind of goes back to well before his time based on the locker room in Liberty Flames men's basketball lore.
I think this university and the people that we have in the locker room make it easy to stay. Like, I've never had like a doubt in my mind or a thought that came across of like, oh, I need to go somewhere else. Like, I'm not getting what I want, or vice versa. And like, there was times, obviously, college careers are tough and you go through rocky roads, bumps, and all that stuff. But these guys make it easy to stay here, and obviously, like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here all 4 years.
That's Colin Porter speaking about the locker room and just never really entertaining the idea of leaving Liberty. And again, sub 6 feet tall guards. You're probably going to be a secondary option off the bench, but you can make so much more financially than somewhere else. Zach Cleveland, also, some of it being just Coach McKay himself, and he believes there's a bigger gain from his time at Liberty that will pay off after his time on the mountain.
I mean, I think what Coach McKay deposits in us every day is just more valuable than I get at any other university. I truly think it's different here. And just from in the film room, we watch culture clips, listen to worship songs. He preaches at us most every day, and I don't take it for granted. And I mean, just how he's transformed my life, I don't think I could have gotten that anywhere else.
That's a holistic perspective that you're just not going to get somewhere else. And frankly, I don't know how often you'll even get it at Liberty in the future. I think you can have that. I think as long as Richie McKay is in charge of Liberty Flames men's basketball, there will be elements of that. But the game has changed. And so it becomes harder to have a program like that in this day and age. And, not only did you bring in a guy like Caden Matheny, but you kept him around and part of the reason he mentioned of why he came to Liberty and stuck around is the like-minded nature, but unique nature of the program, particularly during his tenure.
Just the people, just like-minded people that obviously are faith-based and constantly striving to be the best versions of themselves every day. And I'm so lucky to have that perspective of my previous university going to this one, because it puts into perspective just how special this place truly is and how special the people are. And this place has truly just turned my college career and experience around like I never could have imagined. And I'm forever grateful for these guys and this university and program, because I was in a dark place before I got here with basketball, and I didn't think a university or these guys could kind of change my perspective on how I view college basketball like they have. And yeah, like I said, just truly blessed to be able to be a part of these guys in university.
That's Caden Matheny. His thoughts on just being part of this core at Liberty. And it's not just those. There are others that are part of the Flames. If you go back for the full audio, it's up at aseaofred.com. You'll find Richie McKay highlighting someone like J.C. Shire, who's also been there for 4 years, but is by and large a bench guy. And often those guys don't stick around. They'll transfer somewhere else where they can get more playing time. And again, I don't begrudge players who are in that spot for doing it. Liberty's had some of their own. But it makes it harder to have that level of cultural cohesiveness and connection. And it's part of what makes it worth celebrating this weekend for the Liberty Flames. And by the way, I think it's also worth adding on to this because, here's an example. Matt Norlander with CBSSports.com came out with his list of 15 college basketball coaches to watch during this cycle. And Richie McKay's name is on that list. And I will give you the verbatim from Matt Norlander of CBSSports.com as he said, quote, one of the 5 winningest mid-major coaches of the past decade, he's referring to Richie McKay, which is an amazing feat for a guy with a lengthy resume. He's won 11 conference trophies at Liberty, over multiple conferences, by the way, Big South, ASUN, and CUSA, and will likely hit 300 wins at the school by the end of the month. Few coaches have McKay's, experience and proven record of winning over a long stretch. And then Matt Norlander adds with what's the most important thing I would think for Liberty Flame fans to just keep in the back of your mind as you go through the senior week that they have, and as rare as this is, McKay's, turned down a few jobs in recent years, but I'm told McKay is still open to leveling up, so we'll see. I'm going to do a little connect the dots on that for you here in the fast lane. Matt Norlander is very plugged in with Tony Bennett. Like, apparently Tony Bennett called Matt Norlander and gave him the scoop the Friday night before the court dedication that the names would have not just the Tony Bennett signature, but all the names of the people that were there. And at the bottom of the first of the 2 T's is Richie McKay.
And I got something that can get us tons of clicks. You're talking about Richie McKay's future. I got this. You ready?
Go ahead. Boost the algorithm. Let's go.
So recently in NBA news, a star on the Lakers got in an argument with Roanoke, former Roanoke native and Duke star JJ Redick.
I saw that.
So, maybe, even though it probably was overblown.
No way. NBA Twitter would never do that.
Luka Doncic, maybe this results in JJ getting fired.
It wouldn't shock me. That happens all the time.
Who did the Lakers just hire as a consultant?
Tony Bennett.
So maybe this is the pathway. I'm breaking, they went after a college coach last time that's won a lot. Breaking news. Richie McKay is going to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Book it.
LeBron, retirement, no retirement. Lakers, are we getting all the proper codes to boost us up?
Just saying. There you go. LeBron, Richie McKay, next head coach of the Lakers.
I would not, as stranger things in life have happened. But no, look, I don't think Richie McKay is itching to get out of Liberty. But I do trust Matt Norlander of CBS Sports. And when you combine with what we've done the last week, noting the emotion of senior week, the reality that Richie McKay said it's going to be an expansion franchise next year, or an expansion team. I don't know if it'll be completely overall, but you're going to lose those 3 contributors. And I would not be shocked if Brett Decker Jr. goes somewhere else. McKay's son is on staff at Kentucky. I think, the word can get out about that. And again, I wish I had this other tweet, but one of the Field of 68 podcast hosts the other day had something to say about, as soon as they got done with their tournament at Liberty, they had executives around power programs asking them about certain players at Liberty. So we're not naive. People sniff around that. Is this the time where Richie McKay would say, look, it's been great, but I'm done with it. I'm walking away. I personally, I hope and pray as a sports fan that does not happen. But I can't fault the guy for it. I can't dismiss that it's a possibility, and at least is worth bringing up because when Matt Norlander puts that in his article of the 15 college basketball coaches to watch this cycle and says about Richie McKay, he's turned down a few jobs in recent years, but I'm told McKay is still open to leveling up, so we'll see, end quote. I don't dismiss that because Norlander, again, very tight with Tony Bennett. That is the tree of Richie McKay. I'm not saying Tony Bennett and Richie McKay discussed this and then somebody leaked it to Matt Norlander. But if you want to connect the dots and think that it possibly could have been that, I'm not saying that's the way it happened, but I'm also not ruling it out. And you combine that with the Field of 68 mentioning that after they were at Liberty back in November and people are already sniffing around Brett Decker Jr., and he has backed that up with his play since then, that if you're Richie McKay, you're going, I'm about to lose my top 3 players. My fourth one, there's a good chance maybe he transfers up somewhere else. That, by the way, if Kentucky were interested, they might have an idea since Gabriel McKay is on staff there, or if Alabama's interested and a couple of former Liberty Flames people are on staff at Alabama, just saying, you might be sitting there thinking if you're Richie McKay, I'm about to lose my top 4 contributors. Liberty can give me a chance to rebuild, but it's going to be a lot different. It's going to look different next year. And developing this cohesiveness is going to be harder to retain than ever before.
Hey, there's a certain job that will go after a certain coach that may result in certain job you just mentioned opening up. They wear kind of an iconic blue color, play relatively close to us, that might want to go after Nate Oates if they fire their coach, because considering basically his fate will be determined in the next 3 weeks. And I already know who said school will go after. And if there's already Liberty people at Alabama, might be easy to just pick up the phone and call.
Look, there will be options, is the point. For players and
just
coaches
connecting
from
dots, which is always fun.
It definitely is. Are you referring to a school south of here, by the way, or west of here?
I may or may not have made a reference to said school, the iconic figure from that said school in the latest episode of Bringing the Heat podcast. Referring to maybe a ceiling of a certain race team.
Yes.
Ownership.
More on him in just a moment, but
and guess what? We keep receipts
right there. Now, I'm also not saying Liberty can't find ways to make it attractive for players to stick around or coaches to stick around, or both.
Like, you already have the model. You kept Darius McGee. Granted, that was early NIL. You kept this core for 3 years, which is, again, rare in college basketball. So just keep that all in mind.
So true. And here's the other thing. TheAthletic.com, and I know this is football related, but it's worth mentioning because it speaks to the strength of the Liberty University athletic department. But TheAthletic.com did their transfer portal confidential, if you will. Transfer portal is a 2-part series on the transfer portal this past week. You can go look it up and you can find it. The first of those 2 articles had this from what is termed, quote, Group of 6 staffer number 3 to TheAthletic.com. Quote, the G6 Blue Bloods with deep pockets, Liberty and Western Kentucky are the schools to watch for the transfer portal. They're always going to be contenders for the best class in Conference USA. The staffer adds to The Athletic, and this is an anonymous person off the record, but we played Liberty and one of their coaches told me one of their defensive backs was making $250,000. Now, is that possibly embellished? It would never, ever, ever happen that people would ever embellish stuff anonymously to the media. But would it shock me that Liberty's in a spot where they could financially afford to keep football and basketball players around at a rate that other schools cannot? That also would not surprise me. It also wouldn't shock me if one of those players may or may not have been, sniffed around by Oregon after Liberty played them in the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years ago. I'm not saying it's that particular player, but when you talk about defensive backs, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And oh, by the way, there are plenty of them. One of them just transferred to Oklahoma State, Christian Bodner. No, that's obviously a lucrative situation. So sometimes agents do want Liberty because they can boost the value of another school because of the devil you know, pun intended maybe, with Liberty and all of that. So I think all this is to say is it doesn't mean you panic if you're the Flames, if you're a Flames fan, if you're a Flames supporter, but it is to just say to cherish what you see this weekend, cherish the moment of this together, and cherish the fact that you've got the Conference USA men's basketball tournament next week, and that's the goal for Liberty, is winning that and then getting to March Madness and seeing if you can do damage in front of our very ears on the VTR and Sports app at 93.3 FM. You're home for the entire NCAA tournament and plenty of games leading up to it. But just cherish it because of all of that. Speaking of the aforementioned school that Trey mentioned, and that ceiling is the roof individual. That is part of what we will do to get into the weeds next. And then Brian, Timothy, Dale, Nolan, Jr., or whatever his name is, will comment on.
I know that's obviously common sense. Thank you, Magic Johnson tweet right there.
But we will comment on that and Trey's suggestion, plus the aforementioned ceiling is the roof individual. When we return here in the Fast Lane on the VTR and Sports app, and ask that smart speaker open VTR and Sports.
Here we grow again at the Sheeler Motor Mile. It's here, the all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From rugged trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, new or older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on a Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist, at Bartlett Tree Experts or go to bartlett.com.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Makadu for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics to Coney Island, Betty Bop, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share it and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Marketers.
We'll see you at the Doos.
Building your dream home from the ground up? Farmers Bank is here to make it happen. Our construction lending team understands that building is more than a project. It's your future taking shape. We offer local decision-making, personalized guidance, and flexible financing options designed to move with your timeline. From lot purchase to final build, we'll walk alongside you every step of the way. Let's build something lasting together. Farmers Bank, your community, your bank, your future.
Hey, Hokie fans, are you still getting your Hokie sports news from other outlets, or even worse, the newspaper? Well, you're missing out. Tech Sideline has assembled the largest and most talented team to ever cover Virginia Tech athletics. If you want Hokie sports coverage that is second to none and will make you the smartest fan at the tailgate, subscribe to TechSideline.com for just $12 a month or $120 a year. Tech Sideline, all Hokie, all the time, period. Subscribe today at TechSideline.com.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg. Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Hi, this is Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech men's basketball. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
So we will get to the Magic Johnson tweet of the week in just a moment.
I know that's obviously common sense. Thank you, Magic Johnson tweet right there.
But we have to get to something that was written by
Michael Massey Jr. III.
at frontstretch.com. And it really pertains to the lawsuit between Joe Gibbs Racing driver Ty Gibbs, my guy, and their former, VP of competition or whatever his role was, essentially that, Chris Gabehart, who was supposed to try to shepherd Ty Gibbs, except Ty Gibbs needs a grown-up in the room to help guide him along, or a kick in the butt, and maybe the race at Circuit of the Americas was the first step in maturation for Ty Gibbs. One can certainly hope. And if they need somebody else, let's turn no further than to our Virginia Talk Radio Network colleague and representative, who happens to be in studio today, host of the morning warm-up from 7 to 8 a.m. on the VTR and Sports app at 93.3 FM, because a week ago today, this is the throwback to 1 week ago, he came up with the most brilliant idea of how to solve this Ty Gibbs motivational problem.
Joe Gibbs Racing, if you're listening and you need a guy who actually loves Ty Gibbs as much as Coach Gibbs does, and will actually hold him accountable, because I think he would. Ed Lane's your man. Okay? All you need to do is probably sales deal with our job, get your sponsors to do some sales with us here at the Virginia Talk Radio Network. And I think you got yourself a deal.
I think we absolutely have a deal. If Joe Gibbs Racing can come to the Virginia Talk Radio Network, let's just say one of the Toyota dealerships in the area, all of a sudden wants to be a partner at the Virginia Talk Radio Network. Of course, we have one with Motor Mile Toyota, but if another one wants to join on board, we're thrilled with Motor Mile Toyota.
Or
but
if there's an Interstate Batteries
dealer, if there's a repair shop that provides that type.
DeWalt. I'm trying to think of their sponsors. A Monster Energy. I don't know how that would work. Like a convenience store.
Yeah, a convenience store. It could be a hardware shop that wants to partner with DeWalt and advertise. And Joe Gibbs Racing wants to give a little nudge. Then they will easily procure the services at the Virginia Talk Radio Network of not just marketing and advertising, but I'll be glad to chip in and dedicate my time to being a pep talk chief vibes guy for Ty Gibbs, because he needs to grow up a little bit. He does need a level of accountability to get to the point where people see the talent that he had in the Xfinity series, now called the No Wrap series. That's what I'm calling it. NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think No Wrap sounds like a lot of fun. But if you want that, then there needs to be that. And maybe this is the start of it. Maybe it's the wake-up call of, Ty Gibbs getting negative preferential treatment, being treated like a little baby. And by the way, I put a lot of this on the Gibbs family, because you can't baby the guy around hoping he matures. You need to hold him to the same standards. And either he matures or he shows he's not cut out for the family business. Quick detour, by the way, before we get to Brian Nolan.
Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
I cannot tell you how often in sales I have seen businesses, and this is a male thing much more than a female thing, by the way. I'm going to be typecasting for a moment. But men are all about legacy, lineage. What am I going to leave to my offspring? So they try to shoehorn their children into taking over the job, even though the child doesn't have the passion for it, doesn't have the work ethic and dedication, and maybe needs to mature a little bit. And sometimes it's a combination toxic of all three of those. I can think of plenty of businesses. If you want to get an off-the-record conversation, just come by and see me, or we can link up. Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But that never works out for the success of the company. It may appease the ego of, I put all this time in and I've sacrificed time for my family, so let me leave a legacy and lineage. And then the child just doesn't care, and it doesn't have the same passion, he or she, and it turns out to be a disastrous decision. So that can't be it. So if anything, coach him harder. My dad was harder on us with his business. It helped us figure out whether we did or did not want to go into his fly fishing store business. And it's good. It's made me a better person at my craft. Thank you, Mr. Lane. It's made my brother a better teacher as well. Thank you, Mr. Lane, for that. All of that has been helpful. So maybe I'm off my rocker. Maybe I'm not. But
after Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the fast lane.
We bring in our guy, Brian Nolan. His birthday is today.
Sing to him, Ed. That's what he wants.
I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that, but
it's your birthday. We're going to party like it's your birthday. We're going to sip, not Bacardi, like it's your birthday. And, we don't give, we're not going to go there because it's your birthday. And I am editing it out because I don't want to get fined by the FCC or encourage negative words. But happy birthday to you, Brian, in the fast lane. And hopefully we haven't crimped your birthday vibes with pep talk motivational ideas for the aforementioned Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, that was a rough way to start the start of the segment, Ed. But thank you very much. I loved you rapping to 50 Cent. That was absolutely fantastic.
Fitting
But
Cent. Fitting
yes,
Cent.
okay, my bad. Goodness. But no, it was it's been a good birthday, and I'm ready to get out to the desert. We got a jam-packed weekend with the NTT IndyCar Series, and then the what do you call it? The OOPS? Is that
No
how you
wrap.
call it? No,
No
wraps.
wrap.
Okay, so no wrap series, and then you got the cup guys on Sunday. So it's gonna be fun. And hey, you never know. Ty Gibbs, he's run well there in the no apps car. Maybe he can translate it to the cup car.
So maybe that could happen. You know, we're not going to get a Ty Gibbs sweep the weekend 'cause unless he's got Myatt Snyder vibes. More on that in a moment. He's not going to be filling in and doing more than just the race. But before we get to all of the race weekend activity in Phoenix, what's your assessment of the great article by Michael Massey that maybe the exposing of Ty Gibbs' weaknesses was what he needed? I firmly second that. I think Ty Gibbs needs some of his weaknesses to be exposed rather than the coddling and covering it up. And do you believe that's something that might actually benefit Ty Gibbs in the long run?
Oh, I completely agree. And check that out on frontstretch.com, the up to speed column that Michael Massey wrote. And it's a little behind inside baseball. He was telling me some stats in our group chat while he was writing it. And I did not realize that if they had this current point system they have now, last year he would have made the playoffs due to those 9 races that he did run with Chris Gabehart. And it did seem like when he was getting some tough love, Ed, that he ran away. It's either the fight or flight mentality. He rather flew away. And I think for him, he needs to have someone like that. He needs to have a Chris Gabehart. Obviously it's not going to be Chris Gabehart now, but I do feel like he needs to have a guy that is going to push him to better himself. Not just, yeah, you're doing good, buddy. Good job. It's another 15th place. He needs a guy that's like, no, I want to get top 10s. I want to get top 5s. I want to contend for wins. And I don't think right now he has that.
Sometimes you fight fire with fire. Like sometimes they need to be calmed down, but sometimes somebody that has a fiery internal personality, and I don't know Ty Gibbs honestly personally to know whether that's the case, although his driving style seemed like that was the case. Sometimes they need somebody to actually stand up to them and challenge them. Is that possible with Ty Gibbs, that he actually has needed somebody to challenge him, and they bucked it with Chris Gabehart, and then Gabehart, the lawsuit, now everything being exposed in NASCAR, all of a sudden, maybe that is what is necessary.
I think that is necessary, but also, Ed, is that actually going to happen? I mean, we saw the court filings. It was revealed that he was not held to the same standards as the other 3 drivers, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, when attending team meetings. He was absent from them, and it felt like there was no repercussions. I mean, what is it going to take? Is Joe Gibbs going to be like, hey, this can't happen? I don't know. I mean, he's already letting it. He's already been letting Ty do, I mean, what he wants, basically. I just don't see the hammer getting put down anytime soon. And I mean, I totally could be wrong. I mean, it could be a brand new Ty Gibbs to start out the season for all we know. And he could be going to every single meeting, and he could be tuned in and have a chip on his shoulder. But until we actually see it, put pen to paper, then I'll believe it. But from what I've seen, I think it's going to be the same show from what we've seen from the number 54 driver until it changes.
Well, if Ty Gibbs doesn't have the passion to be showing up to meetings on time and setting the example, then Ty Gibbs following through on Dalton Hopkins' suggestion on the Front Stretch Happy Hour podcast earlier this week of transitioning from driver to leadership, that ain't going to work, because I am a believer in leadership. If you want to be if you want someone to follow your lead, you can't be a do as I say, but not as I do guy.
Exactly. I mean, look at the leadership. You have Jeff Gordon, that's basically the second in command at Hendricks. You got Brad Keselowski, who's running the ship at RFK Racing. You have Denny Hamlin running 2311. Presumably after Richard Childress retires or is moving on, it's going to be either Mike Dillon or even Austin Dillon. So there are some former drivers that have turned executives now. And the thing is, though, is like, does he really want to do that? Does he really want to be an owner? And sure, he's the owner of that 54 car in the No-Op series. But I mean, if his heart's not in it, then why even do it?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a passion for the business itself, or else it's just not going to work. It goes back to my example from a few minutes ago of parents shoehorning, I want my child to take over to carry on the lineage, and that just blows up in your face. But Hendrick has not had that. They've got Jeff Gordon, who is by and large the second in command behind Rick Hendrick at Hendrick Motorsports. They had Myatt Snyder fill in for Alex Bowman. There's two sides to this. First of all, the Myatt Snyder, he didn't speak with the media afterwards. Is this just a classic example of PR people being way too paranoid and not trusting Myatt Snyder? I'll give the example. Myatt Snyder could have easily come out and, what do you tell us about the situation? His first reaction could be, look, I know nothing about Alex. I wish him the best. I'm confident that he'll do his very best to get back in the car as soon as possible, and as soon as the doctors allow. But it was a great opportunity for me. I'm thankful for this, and it was an awesome day and experience to be able to come in and then end it like that. Like, I know it wasn't that polished, but I mean, if I can come up with that as the response, why don't PR people trust a driver like Myatt Snyder or others to come up with that response?
Ed, if I had a great answer, I would tell you, but I mean, it's so frustrating. I mean, we've seen drivers that just are a shell of themselves. It reminds me of Ross Chastain. When he was up and comer, he was so vibrant, he was so energetic, he was so bright and welcoming to talk with the media. Now it's just like he's just a shell of himself, and I don't know why they didn't allow him to. It was a weird thing, but I mean, I think it was Dalton Hopkins was like, they could have just pulled Myatt to the side and said, don't answer any questions about Alex Bowman, and then they would have moved on, because it was a great story, and it could have been a bigger story than it was, and it's just I feel like PR people are doing more damage than good, especially in NASCAR where it's prevalent. I mean, you cover college football, college basketball, among other sports. Obviously, PR people they do a good job. I don't think they are as critical or they as just wound up as NASCAR PR is, because it's a struggle sometimes with certain teams. I'll leave it at that.
So I get it in their defense. It's the grind of a season. It can be monotonous if you're a PR person. It's not like you're the highest paid person, so you're paid a lot of money to deal with it. Let's shed some insight into this. I'll also throw this out there because of the grind element. Is sometimes the driver personality being bottled up thing. PR people really just not wanting, I had this discussion, by the way, with my wife today, and it was a wonderful discussion. If you need better ones with your spouse, Virginia Counseling can help. Wigington Road and Timberlake Road. But my wife and I had a great discussion, and one of my pet peeves is, well, it's just easier. I loathe that response. And is the PR tendency in NASCAR, which is her personalities, that they don't want drivers to say anything that might even be close to controversial, because then the PR person might have to clean up the mess. And from their perspective, as bad as it is for the brand, it's just easier and lazier.
I mean, that's a big reason why, Ed, that there's not a lot of stars in NASCAR. I mean, that's why I keep telling everybody, especially on the Happy Hour podcast, once Carson Hocevar starts winning, he is going to be an absolute superstar, because he's got the personality, is not afraid to hide behind a PR rep and everything. Michael Massey said it best. Hendrick Motorsports PR damaged Jimmy Johnson's just status in terms of whether it's celebrity status or sports status. I mean, he could have been bigger than Jeff Gordon was, but I mean, he was hidden behind the Hendrick Motorsports PR for as long as he drove for them, and we're finally getting to see the real authentic Jimmy, because like you have off the record conversation with Jimmy, he's hilarious, he's a funny guy, and even on the record he's starting to show a little bit more. I mean, you talk with Alex Bowman or Kyle Larson when they're at a dirt track, they're hilarious and everything, and it feels like you said, with how long the season is, they just don't want to deal with it, and they're just like, okay, just don't say anything. And you shouldn't be like that. I mean, it is a struggle, but I mean, you still want to create stars for your sport.
Nothing elicits the eye roll from me. Trey can attest to this more than Lord. I did it because it's easier, not because it's the right move for the team or the company, but because it's easier. Don't show personality. Even if you did, it would be right for the team. Don't do it because it's easier for me. It is the ultimate eye roll inducer, which brings us to our next topic with Brian Nolan of FrontStretch.com. First of all, we have to get you to comment on.
I know that's obviously common sense. Thank you, Magic Johnson.
Yes, the Magic Johnson obvious tweet. I mean, this is just some deep stuff, Brian. brace yourself. And
Okay.
if you need to get some pain relieving medication for the head afterwards, please do
Okay.
that.
I'm ready.
Take a breath, deep breathing. If you need to see our friends at Central Virginia Counseling after this comment to get your mind right, it's okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
Irvin Magic Johnson tweet. I want to congratulate my friend Michael Jordan once again. His 2311 racing team won its third. I can't even get it out with just reading this news headline. His 2311 racing team won its third straight NASCAR race to start the 2026 season, making NASCAR history. And the best part is that's the end of the tweet. Like, there is nothing else from.
I know that's obviously common sense. Thank you, Magic Johnson tweet right there.
Now, with that being said, he does not all right, first of all, Magic Johnson is what the NASCAR PR reps want it to be. Michael Jordan's candidness and bluntness is what they don't want it to be, but what NASCAR needs.
God bless Magic Johnson. God bless him. I really hope he is just trying like one letter by one letter, just tweeting that out. But I'm pretty sure he tells like an assistant to do that. But I mean, it also kind of shows how far this is going with Tyler Reddick, Ed, because like you have a guy like Magic Johnson. I know we all make fun of him. Thank you, Magic Johnson tweet. But like this, like I don't think he would be tweeting about a random race at COTA if it wasn't for a Michael Jordan owned team, you know? And I think as much as NASCAR was hurt by the lawsuit, and they're never going to admit this publicly, I think they are loving what they're seeing because they're getting more and more eyeballs. SportsCenter's probably showing replays of them. And then MJ is going to be on the track again for the fourth consecutive weekend. I mean, everything is going good right now for NASCAR.
It is. Look, this is great for NASCAR. And if there's one thing that may be beneficial about NASCAR, this is my 2 cents. Please refute it, or you can offer your insight as well. Is the one benefit to NASCAR that there's no PR person, there's not NASCAR. Nobody's telling Michael Jordan what to do. I mean, NASCAR tried and they lost in court. So he's going to just do what he does. And if anything, his genuine appreciation for NASCAR, but his candid feedback and honesty, it is what it is. And it's refreshing and almost endearing to NASCAR fans who were attracted to that type of personality from their favorite team and driver.
Oh, it's so nice when you see the real authentic, and it's not like some former athletes that invest in like a no ops team and then go to like 1 or 2 races and then leave. No, like he is there. He knows the drivers. He knows the team. He was celebrating with Reddick's crew after the race. So it's cool to see the real authentic stuff. And it's something that NASCAR has been missing, a big name. Like I said in previous, we want to see those big faces. We want to see some stars. Tyler Reddick could be a star because of his owner. Obviously, we know the other owner in Denny Hamlin, but Tyler Reddick, obviously, sure, he won a no-ops title, he drove for Brad Keselowski in the trucks. But, like, other than that, I mean, okay, he had the scare with his son last year, and now, for the first time in NASCAR history, 3 straight wins to start a season, and your owner is probably the greatest NBA player of all time. Sorry, Trey. But, I mean, this is what NASCAR needs, and if Reddick continues to get 3 or 4 more wins, obviously not in a row, I think he could become a superstar.
He could. It's awesome for NASCAR. It's great to see. The insight is great for Brian Nolan at the Brian Nolan on Twitter and frontstretch.com. He also has great insight on the Front Stretch Happy Hour podcast, which came earlier this week with Dalton Hopkins, Michael Massey, and their rotating guest that chimes in. We appreciate your time, Brian, in the Fast Lane. Next time, we'll have to ask you about the IndyCar series being paired up with NASCAR down at Phoenix, and what may be a burgeoning and good trend for both series.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of racing in the desert. Stay tuned to our socials at the Brian Nolan and at Front Stretch on X. It's going to be fun. Ed, Trey, thank you so much, and we'll talk with you next week.
We will. Brian Nolan with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, senior or season superlatives for high school basketball. Bob Alvis of the Sports FA podcast with us. He'll go through some of those when we return here in the Fast Lane on the VTR and Sports app, and Ask That Smart Speaker, Open VTR and Sports.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years with the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
What do high-performing athletes have in common? They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. The best competitors have a strong mental support system that keeps them focused, confident, and at the top of their game. Want that same support in your own life? Central Virginia Counseling can help. No matter what life throws your way, our team is here for you with 2 Lynchburg locations on Wigington Road and Timberlake Road and telehealth available anywhere in Virginia. Take the first step today. Visit centralvirginiacounseling.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist, at Bartlett Tree Experts or go to bartlett.com.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Hi, I'm Randy Trost with Trost Law. We've seen a lot since 1982. One new issue is an increasing number of uninsured drivers. Unfortunately, when these drivers are at fault for an accident, there's a higher likelihood that they'll flee from the scene, leaving you with a potential mess. So in shopping for your auto insurance policy, please keep in mind that strong, uninsured motorist coverage can protect you from this headache. And if you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, call us at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com.
Are you sick of running your dryer longer just to dry your clothes? It might not be a dying appliance. It might be a clogged up dryer vent. Call Black Goose Chimney Service to find out. Their certified ventilation specialists don't just diagnose chimneys. They also clean dryer vents through the entire ventilation system. Get peace of mind as you're protected from lint clogging your dryer vents, one of the most common causes of house fires. Call Black Goose Chimney Service today and visit blackgoose.net to schedule your dryer vent cleaning.
Feller Chevrolet is now Apple Chevrolet. While the name's changed, we're still the same trusted Feller's team. Same management, same knowledgeable parts and service, same tech, same professional sales staff. With over 200 years of collective experience, we'll continue growing stronger alongside our community. From the newest Chevrolets to top quality pre-owned vehicles, Apple Chevrolet delivers the same unmatched customer service. Visit us at driveapple.com. Apple Chevrolet of Alta Vista, powered by the community we serve.
Hi, this is Bill Roth, voice of Virginia Tech football. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
We'll test, we will test and see if we can connect with our next guest, Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet Podcast, as we do on the old telephone commercial from back in the day. We won't mention it because they're not a part. I don't even know if they exist now. These companies merge so frequently in the telecommunications industry. But Bob Alvis, Sports Buffet Podcast host, with us in the Fast Lane. Bob, can you hear me now? Okay, cannot hear us now. Do you have his information, Trey? Call him on his cell phone. We will get Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet Podcast on via telephone for some season superlatives when it comes to high school basketball, because Radford's a little bit outside of our area, so too is Floyd County, but 5 teams essentially from our footprint. Chatham's a stretch, but they, Liberty Girls, Nelson Boys, EC Glass Boys, and EC Glass were all in action in the quarterfinals on Tuesday night in basketball. And of course, once you get to the quarters, you're out of the regions. It's a single elimination at that particular point. We'll get to LCA the last. That's the team that I'm going to do my best to get over and see tomorrow over at Jefferson Forest High School. But season superlatives for high school basketball teams from here in our coverage area as the ones that made it through regionals and on to the state championship. Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast is with us here in the Fast Lane. Bob, a pleasure to speak with you. We always appreciate your efforting whenever random telecommunications challenges pop up. Girls basketball, boys basketball, some season superlatives for the 5 teams from our area that played high school basketball, and 4 of whom their seasons came to an end. Chatham, Jakaya Gidgets, great season for them and for her, but the way they lost their season, obviously frustrating at the end. Your assessment of overall what she has meant to Chatham basketball and their season as well.
I think Chatham basketball had a very good year. They were only playing with 7 when I saw them up against Radford in in Franklin County. Wow, sorry, regional semifinals. Lauren French did a great job for the Cavaliers to lose the way they did. I don't know what word you want to use. I'll use heartbreaking. 30-footer at the buzzer. I mean, oh gosh. And you've got to sleep on that maybe for at least a year, if not forever.
I mean, that's the pain of it. And I get it's the whole thrill of victory and the agony of defeat part for it. How much is that something that, it's easy for us to say, but you mentioned the Chatham girls and their program. They're sleeping on that for a while, turning that agony of the way that ended into a motivational tool as they have made that small town, but yet very tight-knit community proud.
Yeah, it's really different when you're in a small-knit community because the whole town gets behind you. I have no doubt in my mind that Chatham will be back. But yeah, Chatham and, even like Liberty Bedford, who I know you're going to get to in a moment, places like that, they have that small town feel, even though they might be bigger than the smallest classification in Virginia, which is 1A. So yeah, definitely heartbreak for Chatham. They'll get back, but to lose the way they did, not what I would want to be doing on for 365, if not ever.
No, I mean, that's the painful frustration part. It's teams that lose in last-second fashion. I think if you lose with dignity, but you're not totally blown out, you have at least a little bit more clarity on what your season could have been and where they were. But nevertheless, there's always a painful end to the way a season can wrap up for certain teams. You mentioned the Liberty girls. First of all, we've touched on Shania Brown, the basketball player, but she's also competing for a state championship in the shot put at the same time. How remarkable is that to have a player of her caliber performing at a high level in both of those in the way she's represented the Bedford community and the Liberty Minutemen?
Yeah, track doesn't get the love that it should from everyone. By the way, shout out the Heritage High School indoor girls team. I think won their 5th track championship.
Yeah, we were going to surprise
Campbell, one of 2 individuals. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we were going to surprise you by asking you about that at the end.
Oh, good. Thanks. I love breaking that down for you. I think track sometimes gets thought of as an afterthought by a lot of people because, hey, if I'm a good athlete, I'll just hop over to track later on. But, there's a lot of skill and technique and even throwing the shot and even throwing a discus, which I think a lot of people look at it and say, hey, I could go out there and do that, but you can't. You can't just go out there and do that. So I feel what Shania has accomplished, where you said going from basketball court to track and maybe vice versa, it definitely is complex, and not only from a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint as well. And I'll tell you what, she has been not feeling well this past week. I know with the state quarterfinal game against Floyd, she was regional semifinal game against Floyd. She was in the bathroom, giving her guts to the Porcelain Prince for a while.
Yeah,
so that's not a fun development.
No, that takes an inordinate amount of toughness, and to do it in one sport, how much you're pouring your guts out, literally in this case,
right,
but even figuratively, and then you're adding it to multiple sports. That may be one of the most. I'll ask you that. Shania Brown doing two sports at a high level in the winter. Is that one of the most underrated accomplishments and stories, not just for Liberty Minutemen athletics, but in the area this year?
Man, that's a great question. I might have to throw that out to the poll of people and see what they think. Because, I mean, some other people have done it, no doubt. I mean, but, Cedric Pierman, I know, sticks out in my mind as he did it. But he also played in the NFL. And I love Shania as much as anybody. But to play in the WNBA is really tough at this level because there's a limited number of spots. NFL, you've got a little bit more. So I think maybe what Shania does is special because, let's be honest, girls sports does not have the opportunities and love that boys sports does the higher up you get. So I think it makes it at high school really, really special that she could do both those things.
Yes. And the Cedric Pierman reference is the only other comparison at the same time of doing multiple sports. And like you said, I mean this, he's by all accounts to my knowledge, Cedric Pierman is a brother in Christ with me, but he also is a genetic freak if you can make it to the NFL, and 99.99% of the population aren't that, even when you try to do multiple sports, which just accentuates the accomplishments of Shania Brown at Liberty and is worth remembering despite their season being lost. Meanwhile, more season superlatives for high school basketball. Nelson County boys lost. They had such a great run. How easy is it for people to forget the other stat that you tweeted out about this, which came from Kevin Mays, who covered the area and had this out on social media? This senior class for Nelson, they were 2-20 their freshman season, and yet they finished both their junior and senior seasons in the state tournament. I know it's got to sting to not go further and get to the Final Four or maybe even compete for a championship, but to have that type of turnaround, that's a point of pride.
Yeah, and the careers are going to continue for several of those. Colton Ward has we sit here now scheduled to go to play in the ODAC at a school who is playing in the Division III NCAA tournament. So that should say what they think about Colton Ward. Bryce Giles is going to go play somewhere, and I'll tell you this. I don't watch a lot of Nelson County, but Bryce Giles from last year to this year, most improved player I saw, hands down, without a doubt, not even close. Because last year, I would compare Bryce to, if you've ever watched NBA or college at a high level, maybe Bryce was that Elton Brand type. But Bryce shed what I would call the baby fat and really became a proficient player outside as well. Speed would be my concern at a higher level. But I'll tell you what, and this is what gets me a lot. I hate to go on the soapbox real quick, but a lot of people talk about, well, I don't know how this kid will do at a higher level, blah, blah, blah. They're not. High school coaches are there to win state championships. They're not necessarily there to determine what a kid will do at a higher level. And I think Giles is really good. But, when you get down into far Southwest Virginia, there's a lot of intangibles that people around here just don't see. It's a long trip, no matter what. And Nelson County was going to be the disadvantaged of all disadvantaged, because even if they had a home game, then the other team would have been disadvantaged coming to them, because Nelson is not in a major, they're kind of in between. They're in between Lynchburg and Charlottesville, so to speak. So, it kind of gets into who covers them too, but also they don't really have what the colleges would say is a traveling partner. So I think Nelson County should really be commended for what they did, because you hit on it. Kevin Mays tweeted out 2-20 their freshman year, and they finished, 2 games away from a state championship.
Yeah, I mean, they did. They were a very, very great season and a very worthy one. We'll wrap up on a couple more with Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast with us here in the Fast Lane. EC Glass boys basketball. How much do people need to remember the season in totality for Coach DJ Best's squad, not the last 2 games, which ended in losses?
Kind of a bad time to hit a 2-game losing streak, huh?
Oh, I mean, you'd like to have that happen early in the year, and maybe we'll get to that with our next one. The value of losing at some point to be able to use that as a reset. Is that worthy of mentioning as well, that sometimes that's a benefit for teams?
I think it's a benefit if you can lose in the state quarterfinal, because you're still alive. In the regional final, I'm sorry, because you're still alive. You just have to go on the road for the state quarterfinal. I'll tell you, a lot of those kids from EC Glass learned a lot of lessons, because that's a very young team, minus Gavin Arthur, who really poured his heart out into basketball for the last few years. I was talking to assistant coach Jeremy Anderson the other day, and he said he really, really, really felt bad for Gavin, because this is a kid who's poured all of his soul into it. Everybody else, not that we don't feel bad for them, but they were going to learn a lesson, because I don't know, you've been to Hanley, you've been to other places. It's different when you go far away for a playoff game. It's just different. And I don't know how it can be explained if you haven't done it.
Oh, I would completely concur with that, Bob. As Bob Alvis is with us in the fast lane on W227BG Timberlake, WVGM AM Lynchburg, WMNA Gretna, Danville, Southside, and the VTRN Sports app, as well as VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. When JF went up to last year to Sherando and then this past year to Hanley, I could argue that, one of the benefits JF had in winning the second go round, the trip up to John Hanley this year, is that a lot of those players had been on that type of trip before. And granted, they played on a Saturday, so they could treat the day a little bit differently than a Friday school day. But you've been there before, so you knew how to kind of get your mind right when to start preparing yourself for that type of game and not come out maybe a little sluggish.
Sleeping in your own bed, going to your, the place you always go to eat, going to your locker room. I don't think it's overrated at all, because you're getting off the bus, you're going to, maybe a stop halfway in between. It's a foreign locker room. You've got to shoot around and, for lack of a better term, you got to get adjusted to anything.
Bob,
not your house.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's totally different with all that. And that's the one challenge for Glass. You mentioned the silver lining. They bring back a lot of pieces, and we'll have time to look ahead again to what awaits the Hilltoppers as most of those parts return for another year with DJ Best. LCA, is it reasonable to say that they're ahead of schedule? I think a lot of people, myself included, thought Matt Klein would get this team turned around at some point and get them to the point where they could be making deep state playoff runs. But to be in the state semifinals in year 2, that is ahead of schedule and a complimentary thing.
I'm going to pick on you real quick. Did you get a copy of the schedule? Because I didn't.
Ha, 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 ha. Touche.
I mean, seriously, like when people say ahead of schedule, I don't know what this schedule is. That's a very good LCA team who, I can only describe it to the NCAA tournament, because if you're in the NCAA tournament, it seems like you get second life if you have a close win. And LCA had that right away with Rustburg. And since that, and Klein will disagree with me because we've already talked about it, I don't know if they're a team of destiny, but my goodness, you're not supposed to win if you go to somebody else's place. There's a reason that the Virginia High School League and the region seeds people. You're not supposed to win at Wilson. You're not supposed to win at Western. Maybe you're supposed to win against Christiansburg if we're going by the, seeding stuff. But I can tell you, Matt Klein doesn't think that they're just supposed to win any game because it's there. I will say that the key might have been for them playing Western in the regular season, because it was on a back-to-back. They had Rustburg on a Friday, which they lost. They had Western on a Saturday, which they won. I think that's the key to all of this, to be honest with you.
So you brought up the keys of all this for LCA. Reasonable to say that the strategy changes with both Lake Taylor Friday, and if you win, you're presuming you're getting Petersburg, considering they've got like a top 100 player who's a senior, and Armando Baycott's brother is a freshman. I mean, that team is really loaded. But if you're LCA, don't you want a chance to get to that, even if it's going to be a real uphill battle, because that's the ultimate measure of where you'll have to get and where you want to go as a program?
It's funny because for the past 5 or 6 years, I heard people, I don't want to say complain, but once you got to John Marshall in 2A, it was, we're playing the state championship in the state semifinal because there's no way you're going to beat John Marshall. Well, now that's turned into Petersburg in 3A. And, Petersburg is loaded top to bottom. But LCA's focus right now, Lake Taylor. And by the way, the headache for that one has fallen to the athletic director, Paul Redgate, Klein, and everybody else, because it was not easy to find a place to play. Lynchburg was booked. That's where you play the state quarter. Liberty in use as well. So then where do you go? Because you've got to meet a capacity requirement, which I want to say is 1,250. And a lot of places around here are not 1,250. And the places that are, do you really want to go to Glass if you're LCA? And I'm not trying to put them down, but, that's not good mojo.
Yeah. So they're playing a JF on Friday night. And, there's at least a level of familiarity. It's essentially a home game as much as you could be in that spot. For LCA, is this where the discipline ultimately gets tested? They've done it before, but you got to be willing and able to slow this game down in the next couple games.
That's a good question. I don't know if it's where the discipline gets tested. I would almost pretend that, hey, the best team we saw all year may have been EC Glass, may have been Western Albemarle, may have been Christiansburg. We've just got to put together a combination of, we're playing those three with the best players from each of those teams combined. Because I think going forward, That's the way you have to treat it. Everybody is here for a reason. Nobody just fell into the state semifinals by accident. They didn't wake up and say, oh my gosh, it's the state semifinals. We're here. LCA has worked hard, but so has Lake Taylor, and you really got to take Lake Taylor seriously. And like I said, they're the best team. They've got the best pieces from everything you played. And I think they're going to be really, really athletic. But I'll tell you this, telling kids at this age to slow the ball down, good luck.
Yeah, it is a lot easier said than done, and if you do it, it may get you to the championship. And I mean, look, it's a reward. Even if you make it to the title game, and Latrell Allman, who's the star for Petersburg, he's the 24th player in the country, and is going to Oklahoma State. If that's what happens, hey, sometimes you tip your cap to the opponent, as we've seen as well. We always tip our cap to Bob Albus for his insight today in the Fast Lane. We'll have a little more on high school hoops and start looking ahead to spring sports and some other headlines that have popped up. All of that the next time we speak with Bob. In the meantime, thank you for joining us today in the Fast Lane, Bob. We are grateful for your time.
You can't beat the best if you don't play them.
Yes, indeed. Bob Albus with us here in the Fast Lane with that type of prophetic wisdom. To wrap up our show today, we turn it away from that. Then we get ready. I think it's 7 o'clock tonight is when Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech square off.
When the coverage starts. Let's not bank on the game starting at 7 o'clock.
Oh, gosh, no. It's going to start close to like 7:30. And the ACC women's...
No, I meant like not even starting at 7 on time. Like it's supposed to tip at 7:30, but knowing...
this thing will tip at, like 7:45.
Game of the day. Yeah.
It's going to tip much later. So we will get to all of that. Meanwhile, TJ has the Fast Lane tomorrow. We're back. I am Monday and covering the Commonwealth. In the meantime, yes, on to Freddie and Harry in progress. And then we do turn it over to Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech in the second round of the ACC women's basketball tournament tonight, 7 o'clock airtime.
For Anthony Davis, trading for Trae Young, having Alex Sarr. You're going to add another piece of that puzzle. Kayshawn George